Tommy, behind us we have two cars that directly compete. And in this video, we're gonna take them up the Loveland Trials, the world's toughest electric car test.
Yeah, but these aren't electric, they're electrified.
All right, I'll grant you that they're hybrids. What do we got?
So we've got the new Honda CR-V hybrid and the Toyota RAV4 hybrid. They directly compete, but they have different MPG. So the combined EPA rating on the CR-V is 38. The combined EPA rating on the Toyota is 40.
Now in this video, we're gonna find out which one of the two is gonna get the best fuel economy. We're also gonna review them, and at the end, we're gonna say which one we should buy. So let's get started.
Yep.
Do you guys love cars? Well, we've got a new podcast that will keep you entertained for hours, from on-road to off-road, from Corvette to Jeeps. Check out tflcar.com/podcast or go to wherever you get your podcast, including iTunes, Google Podcast, or Spotify.
The Loveland Trials are a road trip from here in Boulder, Colorado to the top of Loveland Pass at 12,000 feet of elevation. So basically it's 70 miles from here straight up a mountain and then 70 miles back down the mountain. We're gonna record the fuel economy on both of these vehicles, both with the trip computer and the gas pump, to see which one is more efficient.
Tommy, both these cars have drive modes, so which mode do we want to drive up to the top of Loveland Pass? Do you want to put them in eco?
No, I think most people are just gonna get in these vehicles and drive them like they would normally, so normal mode. I think we just start them up, leave them how they are set up. We'll set the climate control to the same temperature on each.
Yeah.
And then we'll just go up the mountain.
Yeah, dude, I do not want to be going up I-70 fighting traffic and semi-trucks in eco mode. It's just no good. So if you guys want to be hypermiling, then this is the wrong channel. So the way this works is quite simple. We fill the car up until it clicks, and then we wait 30 seconds and we do it again to make sure it's topped off. There it clicked. I've got my stopwatch going. We do the same thing with the Toyota, and then we come back down here from the mountain. We fill them up again, then we see what the car says and what the pump says, and we see which of these two is going to be the Loveland Trials champ. And there's your second click. We are completely full. All right, so while Tommy's resetting the odometer in the Toyota, same thing, double click method. There we go. Wow, that took a lot more. That's why we use 2 clicks, to make sure that it's as fair and even as possible. All right, time to head up the mountain.
All right, Dad, we're just leaving the gas station. We've got the trip computer zeroed out as well as our MPG gauges. Let's see what happens.
Which one of these two do you think is going to do better?
I'm thinking the Toyota's going to do better, but that's because I'm driving it. How about you?
Well, you know, we haven't had a CR-V hybrid. This is new for us at least, but we have had a RAV4 hybrid. So really the one that I think people are going to be more interested in might be this one, because it's brand new.
Yeah, but they sell so many CR-Vs and RAV4s that I think even the RAV4 is definitely interesting for those of you out there looking to see which one is better in kind of an extreme test. Now, you have adjustable regens. Have you played with that at all?
I have not played with the adjustable regen. Using the paddle shifter, I can increase the regen, but do we really want to do that? Because it will, you know, change the parameters of this test.
Well, I can't do that, so maybe you should just leave it as it is.
Yeah, but it's a good point. If you guys want to increase the regen, you can use the paddle shifters on my steering wheel to do that. It's pretty cool. Now I'm driving the Honda CR-V hybrid, and it is brand new. According to the EPA, it gets 38 miles combined, 40 in the city, 35 on the highway, and it costs just under $36,000. I wonder how that will compare driving it up and down a mountain.
This RAV4 Hybrid XSE is a little bit more expensive than the CR-V Touring you see here, so this one comes in at $38,074, but the fuel economy is better like we mentioned, 41 city, 38 highway, 40 combined.
right, we have made it 25% of the way in our journey today. Gone about 30 miles. Tommy, we're here in Golden before we go up I-70. And let's get a little update. What is your fuel economy according to the vehicle?
38.3.
Dang, dude, mine's 34.5. Oof. Wow, that's a lot better.
Yeah, it's a big difference, but it's gonna get really hard starting now because it's I-70 all the way up to the high country. So now we're heading to 12,000 feet straight uphill. Let's see what the results are at the top.
Yeah, next stop, the top of Loveland Pass.
There are a bunch of different flavors of Toyota RAV4, ranging from your standard front-wheel drive, gasoline-powered model, all the way up to these luxury-oriented all-wheel drive hybrids. Now, if you want a hybrid drivetrain in the Toyota, you have to get all-wheel drive, and actually that's the same as the Honda. And that's not such a bad thing because this all-wheel drive system is pretty cool in its operation. Now, this has the latest version of the Toyota and Lexus hybrid system for all-wheel drive vehicles, which gives you a hybrid system in the front and an electric motor in the rear with no connection in between the two. What's so cool about this is that they can immediately increase the torque to the rear end or disconnect it altogether if you're just cruising along like we are right now. That's a pretty cool concept. In the past, however, there have been a couple downsides. For example, the rear electric motor is sometimes underpowered in some of the older hybrid systems, but this one feels immediate, it's quick, and I've ran this vehicle off-road. It's performed pretty well. That rear end does get enough power through that electric motor. Toyota markets the RAV4 hybrid as actually the sporty end of the RAV4 lineup, which makes sense because this has significantly more power than all the other just regular gasoline-powered RAV4s. And that's pretty cool that the hybrid trim is actually the quick one, because I do love this hybrid technology, especially in traffic. And you'll notice on the Monroney that these hybrids do better in the city than the highway, where you can really use the full benefit of the electrification systems.
Under the hood of the Honda is a regular 2-liter 4-cylinder. Now, combined horsepower is 212 between the electric motor and, of course, the traditional ICE engine. Now, the one thing that does separate this car from Tommy's ride is that while they're both all-wheel drive, this vehicle still has a traditional drive shaft going from the engine to the rear wheels, whereas Tommy's RAV4 does not, but he'll tell you more about that. They also both have an eCVT, which in my book is fine for a hybrid, but not my favorite type of transmission, especially when you're going up a big mountain.
The RAV4 hybrid uses a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder, a little bigger than the Hondas, and the total system output between the electric system and the gas system is 219 horsepower. Now, the all-wheel drive system in this works completely different than the Hondas. There's no physical connection between the front axle and the rear. Instead, the rear axle is powered entirely by electricity, so kind of a different philosophy. Now, in terms of batteries, the Honda uses a slightly smaller battery, 1.4 kilowatt hours, versus the Toyota that uses a 1.6 kilowatt hour battery. However, the Honda uses a much newer technology in its battery chemistry, lithium ion, versus nickel metal hydride in the Toyota. So definitely two very different ways to get the job done.
Style-wise, comparing these two is kind of like asking the question, which of your toes looks better? To me, personally, the Honda looks like a big old jelly belly, and the RAV4 looks like an angry blowfish, but I'll leave it up to you in the comments below to decide which one you think looks better, which of your toes looks better. Now, in terms of the fit and finish and quality and drivability of these cars, let's start with the fit and finish. I'll talk about, of course, the CR-V. It's a very nice place to be. There's just a lot of attention to detail, and at $36,000, there better be. This vehicle has certainly moved up market, and best of all, not to have a sunroof, but there is tons of room in here. There's a great car for a lot of different demographics, and since this is the top of the line, most expensive CR-V you could probably get, It also has Qi wireless charging, which is also a thoughtful feature.
The interior of the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid feels almost completely different from the interior of the RAV4 Hybrid. It almost feels sports car-like in comparison. Everything is just much higher. The center console is much higher. It feels a lot more compartmentalized. Now the advantage of that is it does feel pretty sporty. The disadvantage is there's just kind of less room to put your stuff in. Both of these crossovers have very usable rear seats. This is the Honda, and it's actually excellent. Tons of legroom, pretty decent headroom. I also have 2 USBs back here and a completely flat floor, so even the middle passenger, yeah, it's fine. It's very good. The rear seat on the RAV4 is a little bit worse than the CR-V, just, you know, seat of the pants experience. Feels like I have a little bit less legroom. Also, this seat is just massive to look at. It's like a fully bolstered bucket seat, but headroom is also very good in the RAV4. The center seats, there's definitely a little bit more hump in the RAV4 than in the Honda, and the USB ports, they're only 2.1 amp versus 2.5, which might be a deal breaker for the rear seat passengers trying to charge up their phones quickly.
So you may be wondering, why are the Loveland trials the hardest electric car test in the world? And here's one reason. When we left Boulder, it was almost 70 degrees and sunny. Now we're in pretty much 38 degrees, 12,000 feet above sea level, and a full-on snowstorm. And if you ever spent any time behind the wheel of an electric car, you know just how much batteries hate this kind of cold. So not only are we dealing with altitude, but we're also dealing with weather, and perhaps more importantly for electric cars, electricity and the battery.
Now, coming up Loveland Pass, we are hitting some snow, and I find that the Toyota all-wheel drive system works pretty darn well. Some of the early generations didn't send enough power to the rear axle to really give you a confidence-inspiring all-wheel drive system, but on this latest generation, the rear motor feels quite powerful, and when you put your foot down, it does deliver the torque when you need it, where you need it. So I think it's a good all-wheel drive system. This feels quicker, it feels more sporty than the CR-V, and it's just more fun to drive.
So we made it to the top of Loveland Pass, and they've got dogs and skiers up here, which they're trying to keep out of here because of, well, where we're at right now. But tell me, what was your fuel economy coming up here? About 80 miles.
28.8 is the number I have recorded on the trip meter.
Mine says 24.5, so you are 4 MPG better than the
CR-V.
Yeah, hybrid. But maybe it's got a better regenerative system on the way down, so maybe I'll make up that deficit on the way down. What do you think?
Well, let's find out. On the way down now, we are regenerating power back into the battery. So basically, going down a mountain, these are pretty similar to EVs because the engine doesn't need to run. We've got a little gauge in this RAV4, and when I hit the brakes, we'll actually go into the charge section. There you go. So you can see that I'm putting more juice back into the little battery pack. It's not going to be as effective as a full battery electric vehicle because the pack is so tiny, but at least we're not using really any gas going down the hill.
Wow, Tommy, it's not snowing in Boulder. All right, so we went just a hair under 150 miles, and I did 35.2 MPG.
Yeah, and I did 41 according to the Toyota.
Wow, that's pretty significant difference. But that's what the cars say. I think we got to go to the pump now and see what the pump says. Okay, here we go. All right, Tommy.
Our calculator here, we drove 149.9 total today.
Yep.
Divided by 4.255. Ready?
Yep.
35.2.
For the Honda hybrid. Well, that's pretty close to what the Honda said. So now let's find out what the Toyota says and what the pump says.
All right, here we go. Filling up the RAV4 hybrid. same exact process, same exact procedure. We've been using this process on TFL for a long time, so it's what we're sticking with and it seems to be working. Oh, it sucked up a lot more. So 3.620, obviously less than Honda, but let's see what that means in terms of numbers. 149.9, same distance, we followed each other, divided by 3.620, 41.4. So about 6 miles per gallon better than the CR-V.
Alright, at the start of this video, we said we would pick a car. What car are you picking, Tommy?
It's gotta be the Toyota RAV4 for me. It's more efficient and it's more fun to drive, but the CR-V is still a great choice.
More room in the CR-V, but at the end of the day, people buy these because of fuel efficiency, and there's a clear winner today, so I'd have to go with the RAV4 as well. As always, this is Roman
and Tommy. Head over to tfocar.com for the latest and greatest in crossover hybrid reviews.